Welcome back. I wanted to bring into the conversation journalist Mary Papenfuss. She is a journalist for the Huffington Post, and I want to talk about her article, which intersects, unfortunately, with everything that we're discussing this morning. She's covering the Texas Senate bill that's dropping the teaching requirement that the Ku Klux Klan is, quote unquote, morally wrong. Now, we discussed this on the show this week and a little bit last week. Mary, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your research into it. We've been covering it because of the absurdity of it, right? The suggestion that there is some type of moral equivalence, and therefore we should not discuss the immorality of what was clearly an immoral institution, or is, because it's still with us.
Yeah. It was shocking. Actually, I wasn't the first one who covered it. The Texas papers had the story Friday, and a lot of people talked about white supremacy, and that white supremacy was no longer to be considered or no longer to be taught as morally wrong. And I looked at the bill, and I think my story was picked up because I picked up the part about the KKK. I just thought, why not go right to it? Because that's what's at the heart of this bill. And I think there's something so horrifying about the Klan. And to see those, we have these great historical photos of the Klan that I pull out when I can, because I think they just strike terror into everybody's heart. And that's what we're talking about. I mean, our house is on fire. I'm sure this is going on elsewhere, but Texas put it in black and white. And it took me a while. There was an earlier bill that was passed. It was a House bill that was passed. I think the governor signed it in June, and that had the list of the curriculum. And I saw the Senate bill, and I thought, well, where is it? What did they cut? So it took me a while. It took me about a day to compare the two bills. And there's a long list of cuts. I mean, they cut the Emancipation Proclamation. They cut every woman's name out of the required curriculum, every person of color's name. They cut out the entire Native American history. And of course, the most shocking was that, white supremacy, including but not limited to eugenics and the Ku Klux Klan, would not be taught, and it would not be discussed as morally wrong. So this is just like ground zero of what's happening in this country, I think. And they were dumb enough to put it in writing.
Bramack.
So you have to go back and ask the question then, is murder morally wrong? Nobody could argue that. So, from a historical perspective, let's understand when the Klan came into formation. The Civil War is lost, which now, and you go back to January 1st, 1863, when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. So, yeah, let's strip that as well. But then after the end of the Civil War, April 9th, 1865, now you got the passage of the 13th Amendment on December 6th, 1865. That loss was so devastating that now 6 ex-Confederate officers meet down in Pulaski, Tennessee on Christmas Eve, December 24th, and they find this little group known as the Ku Klux Klan. So now let's come more into modern day, and let's talk about the morality. Just a couple of cases of the morality behind the Ku Klux Klan. Most of us are familiar with the 16th Street bombing, but I need people to understand how horrific it was. So September 5th, 1963, Addie Mae Collins, a 14-year-old little black girl. Carol Robinson, 14-year-old little black girl. Cynthia Wesley, a 14-year-old little black girl. Carol Denise McNair, an 11-year-old little black girl, died because of a bombing on November 18th, 1977. And if anybody wants to debate the morality of the Klan, just go ask the largest law enforcement investigative source in this country, the FBI, because the FBI has an incredible dossier on what immoral acts were committed by members of the Ku Klux Klan. So on April 18th, 1977, Robert Dynamite Bob Edwards Chambers was a known member of the Ku Klux Klan, and he was convicted of first-degree murder Now, again, if murder is not a moral issue, then I don't know what is. Now come back to the state of Mississippi, those 3 civil rights workers. We're talking about James Chaney, Andrew Goldman, Michael Shawarner. August 3rd, 1964, there was an informant who was a Mississippi Highway Patrol, who's now deceased, by the name of Maynard King. He was known as Mr. X to the FBI. He told them, and keep in mind, they had been looking for these civil rights workers for a long time. You had local state authorities. You even had 400 United States sailors looking for these bodies. But on August 3rd, Mr. X tells the FBI where the bodies are located. The next day, they find the bodies of these 3 civil rights workers. November 1964, 21 men, based on this informant's information to the FBI, 21 men are convicted or charged with murder. The state of Mississippi, and knowing they were Klan members, the state of Mississippi refused to bring charges against them. So on October 6, 1967, in a case, United States versus Cecil Price. But who was Cecil Price? Cecil Price was a deputy sheriff in Neshoba County. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, let me jump in there and grab it, only because we have Mary for a limited amount of time, but I need to couch it in that history, right? So there is a clear historical precedent for the immorality. I mean, the receipts go on and on and on and on, but there's a game that is being played that has very deadly consequences, and it's a game of, are they trying to get away with a whataboutism? Are they trying to say that it's all a wash, or are they simply saying we don't care that that the KKK is immoral? We're taking a firm stand on the side of the KKK in your research.
I think they're trying to thread the needle. I mean, outrageously, when some of these politicians were asked about this, they would say, well, we haven't banned the teaching that the KKK is immoral. It's like, oh, okay, then we're all good. Some guy said they wanted to make a manageable list. They wanted to truncate the list a little bit. So they cut out all people of color, all women. And, the one break was given to the white men in white sheets. I mean, it's appalling. Wow. And I got so much hate mail after this story, and people, they called me a liar without pointing out anything, just like it's a lie. So it's if you call the truth Mary, a lie. Oh, yeah.
You're saying that you personally received hate mail just for reporting on it, and you weren't the original reporting. You found some subsequent reporting, and because of your subsequent reporting, you got hate mail. Is that correct? Yeah.
I think, I used the Klan in my headline and in my lead, and that just pushed everybody's buttons. I mean, that just woke everybody up, I think. That's why everybody picked up my story, because I put the Klan in the top, and people I've never gotten a hate mail like that since I've been a journalist.
But Mary, I would also say this, that if you take a traditional history book today, and if you just open that history book 10 times, you're going to find exactly what those Texas legislators did. You're going to find, if you open it and you see 10 pictures, 8 to 9 of those pictures are going to be a white man. Very rarely are you going to see women and people of color. So what we're talking about now is revisionism. That is, in its simplest terms, that is what they are doing. To revise history. But you'll never be able to clean this up, which is why it is so important for us as a people to understand our history. And I want to applaud you for being able to put together such an article that strikes the moral consciousness and the nerves of America.
Yeah, because that's what you hit. That's why you got. I want to play, because I want to show the tapestry of white supremacy from Brother Anthony Galloway, who coined that phrase. I want to show you all how all of this is connected. There's a clip from Officer, I think you called it Fanon. And he is actually, in this clip, he is sharing a voicemail that he got yesterday during his testimony, sharing the truth about what happened on January 6th. And when I heard you, Mary, say that you got that kind of hate mail, now, I mean, obviously we know about that hatred. The hatred is nothing new, especially for the black community, but they are so committed. Let's just hear the audio from the voicemail that the testimony got, because as they pull that up, the commitment to this bigotry, the commitment to this white supremacy, even goes to the point in your article. I saw them say that that they are not even going to be required to teach Dr. King, I Have a Dream. So it's not only the removal of the immoral reference to the KKK, it's also about revisionism and erasing the contributions of leaders like Dr. King.